300 years of British royal history shattered this morning when the king's brother was arrested and taken into police custody. This has never happened before, not in modern times, not in centuries. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, the man who until last year was Prince Andrew, Duke of York, third in line to the throne, was arrested at his home on the royal family's estate at approximately 5 a.m. Eastern Time today, on his 66th birthday. He is being held in custody. Police are searching his properties, and the charge he faces, misconduct in public office while serving as the United Kingdom's trade envoy, carries a maximum sentence of life in prison. I have the police statement. I have the reaction from the king. I have the historical context that explains why this is unprecedented. And I have evidence showing that the British monarchy is in the deepest crisis it has faced in modern history. This happened 3 hours ago. This is breaking news. And if you understand what this means for the royal family, for the institution of the monarchy, and for the United Kingdom itself, you understand why this is one of the most significant political stories of the year. Comment right now if you think the monarchy should be abolished after this. Let me start by explaining why this arrest is historically unprecedented, because Americans watching this may not fully understand just how shocking this is in the United Kingdom. The British monarchy has existed for over 1,000 years. Kings and queens have ruled England and later the United Kingdom since the early medieval period. The modern constitutional monarchy, where the monarch has ceremonial power but no real political authority, has existed since the 1700s. And in all that time, senior working members of the royal family have been considered untouchable. They live in palaces funded by taxpayers. They receive millions of pounds in public money every year. They are protected by special laws and customs that shield them from the scrutiny that ordinary citizens face. And they have never, not once in modern history, been arrested and charged with a crime, until today. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was arrested this morning by Thames Valley Police on suspicion of misconduct in public office. He is the younger brother of King Charles III. He is the uncle of Prince William, the heir to the throne. He is the son of the late Queen Elizabeth II, who ruled for 70 years and was one of the most respected monarchs in history. And he is now sitting in a police cell, being questioned by detectives while officers search his homes for evidence. Hit subscribe and turn on that bell, because the monarchy is collapsing in real time and you need every update. Roya Nikkhah, the royal editor of Britain's Sunday Times newspaper, appeared on CBS News this morning. She said, "This is the king's brother who has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The first senior royal to ever be arrested. This is quite a moment in history." She is right. This is a moment that will be studied by historians for generations. Because what happened today is not just about one man's crimes. It is about the end of the idea that royalty places you above the law. Now let me show you King Charles's response, because this is his brother and the king had no choice but to issue a public statement. Charles said, "I have learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I have said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. Parse that statement carefully. Charles is not defending his brother. He is not claiming Andrew is innocent. He is not using his position as king to shield Andrew from prosecution. Instead, he is publicly declaring that the law applies to his family the same way it applies to everyone else. That is a remarkable statement. And it tells you that the palace knows this is an existential crisis for the monarchy. Drop a comment if you think the monarchy is finally being exposed. Now let me show you the evidence that led to today's arrest, because this is not a case of one person's word against another. This is documented proof that comes from the United States government. On January 30th, 2026, less than 3 weeks ago, the U.S. Department of Justice released over 3 million pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation. These documents include emails, financial records, flight logs, and communications between Epstein and dozens of powerful people around the world. Among those documents are emails showing that Andrew, when he was still a working royal and serving as the UK's special representative for international trade and investment, forwarded confidential government reports to Jeffrey Epstein. One email appears to show Andrew sending Epstein a report from his special advisor about an official trade visit to Southeast Asia. The report contained information about investment opportunities, meetings with foreign officials, and trade negotiations. This was confidential information. Andrew was representing the British government. He was acting on behalf of the Queen, and he sent that information to a convicted sex offender who had been prosecuted for soliciting prostitution from a minor. An anti-monarchy organization called Republic reviewed these documents and filed a formal complaint with police on February 9th, 10 days ago. Thames Valley Police said they were assessing the complaint. Today, they arrested Andrew. That tells you how strong the evidence must be. Police do not arrest the king's brother unless they are absolutely certain they have probable cause. Share this video if you think sharing government secrets with a child trafficker should result in life in prison. Now let me show you the United Kingdom Prime Minister's response, because Keir Starmer, who leads the Labour Party government, was asked this morning about Andrew's arrest. Starmer said, "No one is above the law, and it is really important that this is applied across the board. That is the principle, and it has to apply in this case in the same way as it would apply in any other case." That is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom saying publicly that the king's brother will not receive special treatment because of his family. This is a left-wing government that has long been skeptical of the monarchy, and they are using this moment to make it clear that titles and palaces and royal bloodlines mean nothing when it comes to the law. But here is the bigger question. What does this do to the monarchy as an institution? Because this is not the first scandal the royal family has faced. This is not even the first Epstein-related scandal. But this is the first time a senior royal has been arrested, and it is happening at a time when public support for the monarchy is already collapsing. Comment right now, should the UK abolish the monarchy? Let me show you the context. King Charles ascended to the throne in 2022 after the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Elizabeth was beloved. She ruled for 70 years. She was a symbol of stability and continuity, and when she died, many people in the United Kingdom mourned her genuinely. But Charles does not have that same level of public affection. He is less popular than his mother, he is older, he is more politically outspoken, and his reign has been defined by scandals and crises almost from the beginning. First, there was the fallout from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's departure from royal duties and their subsequent interviews where they accused the royal family of racism and mistreatment. Then there was the decision to strip Andrew of his titles after he paid millions to settle Virginia Giuffre's lawsuit. Then there was the controversy over Charles's relationship with his eldest son, Prince William, and reports of tension within the family. And now, less than 2 years into his reign, Charles's brother has been arrested on suspicion of sharing government secrets with a sex trafficker. The monarchy's brand is in freefall. Michael Walker, a political commentator and contributing editor at Novara Media, said this morning that the developments are incredibly damaging for the UK's monarchy and establishment more generally. Al Jazeera's Milena Veselinovic said, "This is such an unprecedented action and move for a prince that was one time the Queen's favorite child, who held a number of high-profile roles within the British establishment, who gradually had this fall from grace because of his association with a convicted pedophile. This is yet another blow to the branding of the monarchy." Subscribe right now if you want to see the monarchy collapse in real time. Now let me show you how we got to this point, because Andrew's fall from grace did not happen overnight. Andrew was born in 1960, the third child of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. He served in the Royal Navy for 22 years, including active duty during the Falklands War in 1982. He was considered a war hero. He was well liked, and when he retired from the Navy, he was appointed as the UK's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment, a role he held from 2001 to 2011. That position gave him access to confidential government information. It gave him the authority to represent the British government in meetings with foreign officials and business leaders. And it put him in contact with some of the wealthiest and most powerful people in the world, including Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew met Epstein through Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of British media mogul Robert Maxwell. Ghislaine and Epstein were close. Ghislaine introduced Andrew to Epstein in the 1990s. By the early 2000s, Andrew and Epstein were friends. Andrew flew on Epstein's private plane. He stayed at Epstein's properties. He was photographed at Epstein's Manhattan mansion. And when Epstein was convicted in 2008 of soliciting prostitution from a minor, Andrew did not cut ties. Instead, he continued to associate with Epstein. In 2010, 2 years after Epstein's conviction, Andrew was photographed walking with Epstein in Central Park in New York. The photo caused a scandal. The British press called it a massive error in judgment, and Andrew was forced to resign from his trade envoy role in 2011. But he remained a working royal. He continued to attend official events. He continued to receive public funding, and he continued to deny that he had done anything wrong. Then in 2019, Andrew agreed to do an interview with the BBC to address the allegations against him. The interview was a disaster. Andrew claimed he could not have been with Virginia Giuffre on the night she described because he was at a Pizza Express in Woking with his daughter. He said he did not sweat due to a medical condition, contradicting Giuffre's account. He said he had no recollection of ever meeting Giuffre, despite a famous photograph showing them together, and he expressed no sympathy for Epstein's victims. The interview was widely mocked. It became a meme, and within days, Andrew announced he was stepping back from royal duties. Drop a comment if you remember that BBC interview, because it was the beginning of the end for Andrew. In 2022, Virginia Giuffre filed a civil lawsuit against Andrew in the United States, accusing him of sexual abuse when she was 17 years old. Andrew fought the lawsuit. He tried to claim diplomatic immunity, but the case moved forward, and in February 2022, Andrew agreed to pay Giuffre a settlement reported to be between £7 and £12 million. He did not admit any wrongdoing, but he paid to make the case go away. And then last year, King Charles made the decision that shocked the world. Charles stripped Andrew of all his remaining royal titles. Andrew lost his Royal Highness designation. He lost his military titles and patronages. He was forced to move out of the Royal Lodge at Windsor, where he had lived for years. He was relocated to a smaller property on the Sandringham estate, and he was told he would no longer receive public funding. He became Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, a private citizen with no official role. At the time, many people thought that was the end of Andrew's story. He would live quietly on the royal estate, out of the public eye, and the scandal would fade. But then the Epstein files were released, and the evidence of Andrew sharing government secrets with Epstein came to light, and today he was arrested. Now here is what happens next, and why this matters for the future of the monarchy. Andrew is in police custody. He will be interviewed by detectives. Police are searching his homes. If they find enough evidence to charge him, he will appear in court. If he is charged and convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of life in prison. But even if he is not convicted, even if the case is dropped or he is acquitted, the damage to the monarchy is done. Think about what this looks like to the average person in the United Kingdom. The royal family lives in palaces. They receive millions of pounds in taxpayer funding every year. They are protected by armed guards. They travel in luxury. And one of them was friends with a child trafficker. One of them shared government secrets with a convicted sex offender. And for years, the institution of the monarchy protected him. It was not until public pressure became unbearable and the evidence became undeniable that the royal family finally took action. Comment right now. How much longer can the monarchy survive? Polling in the United Kingdom shows that support for the monarchy has been declining for years, especially among younger people. A significant percentage of the British public now believes the monarchy should be abolished, and scandals like this only accelerate that trend. The royal family's argument for its continued existence has always been that it represents tradition, stability, and continuity. But what happens when the tradition is protecting sex offenders? What happens when stability is built on covering up crimes? What happens when the continuity is just a long history of the rich and powerful getting away with things that ordinary people never could? Virginia Giuffre's family released a statement today. They said, "At last, today, our broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not even royalty. On behalf of our sister, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, we extend our gratitude to the UK's Thames Valley Police for their investigation and the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. He was never a prince. For survivors everywhere, Virginia did this for you." Read that line again. He was never a prince. Giuffre's family is saying that titles mean nothing, that being born into wealth and privilege does not make you special, that royalty is a fiction, and today the fiction is crumbling. Share this video everywhere because the mainstream media is not covering this the way they should. Now here is the international perspective. The United States government released the Epstein files. American victims like Virginia Giuffre have been fighting for justice for years, and there is still an open question about whether Andrew could face charges in the United States. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said earlier this month, "I'll never say no and will always investigate any evidence of misconduct. But as you know, it's not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things. And if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will." That was before Andrew was arrested in the UK. Now that a criminal investigation is underway, the US may take a closer look. Giuffre's lawsuit was filed in US courts. Some of the alleged crimes occurred on US soil, and the Epstein files were released by the US Department of Justice. It is entirely possible that Andrew could face prosecution on both sides of the Atlantic. Hit subscribe if you want updates on whether the US will charge Andrew. This is a developing story. Police are conducting searches right now. More evidence may come out in the coming hours and days. The royal family is in crisis. King Charles is facing the biggest challenge of his reign. And for the first time in modern history, the world is watching a senior member of the British royal family sit in a police cell, facing the possibility of life in prison. The monarchy has survived wars, scandals, divorces, and public criticism for centuries, but this feels different. This is not a personal failing that can be hidden or excused. This is a criminal investigation. This is documented evidence. This is the law being applied equally, regardless of title or bloodline. And if Andrew is convicted, it will prove once and for all that no one, not even the brother of the king, is above the law. Comment, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the British monarchy is imploding, and this is only the beginning.